It all started with a letter. A neatly folded, smugly printed notice from our local HOA tucked under my grandmother's welcome mat. Dear resident, it opened in that passive-aggressive tone they always use, like they're doing you a favor by turning your life upside down. Your property is in violation of HOA codes 3.7b and 5.3a. Your front steps do not meet the visual guidelines of the community. Further violations may result in daily fines or potential eviction. My grandmother, 78 years old, has lived in that house since the 1960s. She bought it with my grandfather, who built the very steps in question with his bare hands. Now, suddenly, those steps were a problem. I was furious. Karen Matthews, HOA president, blonde bob, constantly clutching a clipboard and a thermos. She had a reputation for running the neighborhood like a dictatorship. She called it keeping up appearances. We called it bullying. She had fined residents for things like planting unauthorized flowers and having Halloween decorations up one day past October 31st. Now she was targeting my grandmother. That was a step too far. Within a week, Karen issued a second letter. This time, the language was sharper. Failure to comply has resulted in a $500 fine. Repeated violations may result in eviction proceedings. Eviction of a 78-year-old woman who'd lived there longer than the HOA had existed. I tried to talk to Karen. Your grandmother's steps don't match the neighborhood aesthetic, she said with a straight face. They're deteriorating. They weren't. I had them inspected. Structurally sound. This wasn't about safety. This was about control. I requested a copy of the HOA bylaws. At first, they refused. So I filed a Freedom of Information request through the state. When I got the documents, I noticed something odd. The language about steps was vague, added in a recent amendment. And guess who authored that amendment? Karen. I dug deeper. The amendment had been passed without a full community vote. That's illegal. I started talking to other residents. Many of them had horror stories. One man was fined $100 for having a blue mailbox. A woman down the street had to remove her bed bath. Another family had been forced to cut down a tree. Their child planted. Everyone was angry, but most were scared. Karen ruled with intimidation and legal threats. I saw an opportunity. If Karen wanted a war, she'd get one. I met with a local real estate lawyer. She confirmed my suspicions. The HOA had been violating its own charter for years, but to challenge it, we needed leverage, property. I started looking into homes around the neighborhood. Quietly, through a network of LLCs, I began purchasing properties. From disgruntled residents, many were eager to sell, tired of the constant harassment. Within 6 months, I owned 14 properties. That gave me voting power. At the next HOA meeting, Karen sat at the head of the table, flanked by her loyal board members. The room was full. Next order of business, she said, removal of non-compliant property features, including the steps. At 122 Maple Drive, I stood up. Actually, Karen, I have a motion. I propose a vote of no confidence in the current HOA leadership. Gasps. You can't do that, she snapped. I own 14 properties now. According to the bylaws, I can call a vote. I had the proxy votes from every tenant. The board was ousted. Karen was livid. With new leadership in place, including myself as treasurer, we launched a full audit. What we found was explosive. Karen had been funneling HOA funds into her personal business accounts. She charged the HOA for consulting and maintenance done by companies she owned. Over $200,000. In 5 years, we contacted authorities. Karen was arrested for embezzlement and fraud. News vans showed up. The whole town talked about it. But we didn't stop there. We rewrote the bylaws, making them fair. We refunded unjust fines. We rebuilt trust, and we repaired my grandmother's steps not because we had to, but because she deserved it. During renovations, a construction crew discovered something beneath one of the houses. I purchased a trap door under the floorboards. Inside was a Cold Warrior bunker, filled with dusty boxes, deeds, maps, land ownership documents from before the HOA even existed. Some of those properties had never legally transferred to the HOA. That meant their enforcement had never been legitimate. We took the documents to court. A judge reviewed them and ruled that over 30% of HOA-controlled land had never been properly acquired. The HOA's charter was voided. The remaining board members resigned. With the HOA dissolved, the neighborhood went into chaos. But I had a plan. I offered fair prices to remaining homeowners. Many accepted. They were tired of drama. Eventually, I owned 80% of the neighborhood. We restructured it into a cooperative. Fair rules, open voting, no more KARENS. We set up a community garden, a new playground. We painted murals with local kids. My grandmother became the honorary mayor of the block. She smiles now, sitting on those same front steps. Karen was sentenced to 3 years of probation, community service, and ordered to pay restitution. She now volunteers at the library she once tried to defund. Some say she's changed. Others say she's just quiet. Either way, she lost. What started with a letter ended with a revolution. We proved that one person, armed with truth and tenacity, can topple even the pettiest tyrants. So the next time someone tells you there's nothing you can do about the HOA, remember this story. And remember my grandmother's steps, still standing, stronger than ever. Subscribe to DD Stories, because justice is best served on your own front porch.